What's up, YouTube? My name is Johnny Bannon with Trepid Technologies, and today we will be going over Ethernet, VLANs, and trunking. Remember, these how-tos go over Trepid Technologies Confluence page. So click that link below and let's get started. Alright guys, so first things first, let's click that link below. Let's go to our how-to page on Trepid Technologies. So here, we're going to go to Cisco switches, and then our VLANs folder. So here's going to give you a brief explanation of VLANs and Ethernet. And if you want a little bit more resources, I have these PDFs that you can download. So this isn't the how-to we'll be going over today. What we will be going over is a standard range VLAN how-to. So we're going to follow this. And as I configure, I'll explain to you what VLANs are and kind of what they do. We all know that in today's networks, we need network segmentation. And VLANs allow us to segment our network by using a layer 2 tag, or a VLAN tag, placed in the Ethernet frame. If we go back here to our VLANs, we can actually see that VLAN tag, otherwise known as the 802.1q encapsulation tag. Alright guys, so again, just some more pictures of what our networks used to be like without VLANs. If we wanted to segment our network, sales, engineering, servers, different departments, right? We needed a physical device for each LAN. With VLANs, we could only have 1 or 2 switches for all of our departments and still logically segmenting our traffic. Let's go back to the standard range VLAN. And let's follow this how-to. So it says first, we're going to set up our GNS3 environment. So first thing I'm going to do is bring up that lab. And I have it saved on mine. So in your how-tos, you will have to actually configure this yourself. So let's bring this up. Make this switch 4. Let's make our connections, guys. So I'll just come over here. We're just going to make these connections. All right. Now our actual port interfaces don't have to be exactly the same as it is on the how-to, guys, but it will make your life a little bit easier if you're going step by step. But if not, if this is just practice for you, then you can make it whatever interface you want, and the configuration will be the same, except for the changing of maybe VLAN numbers and port numbers. So it says we're going to start on switch 3, and we're going to configure VLAN 10 through 20 in global config mode. So here's our configuration here. So let's start these switches. Let's go into switch 3. Let's get started. So guys, for this how-to, we're just going to be going over standard VLANs. So what does that mean? So our standard VLAN are the numbers 1 to 1005. 1 being the native or default VLAN. So this is the VLAN that doesn't actually get a tag on it, but if it transits the network without a tag, it's known as VLAN 1, or the native VLAN. So this native VLAN is not just for devices not put into a created VLAN. It's also for any control plane traffic. So STP, CDP, VTP, all that layer 2 control plane stuff on the switch gets transported via VLAN 1. And then VLANs 2 to 1001 are just the standard VLANs used for Ethernet frames, and we create these ones. Then you have these 4 defaults here for legacy technology, guys. So you got FDDI VLANs, token rings, and whatever this is right here. Alright, so now that our switch is booted up, let's create some VLANs. So we're going to go into global config mode, and we're going to create multiple VLANs. So here I'm just going to show you some syntax. So we can do VLANs 10 through 13. And then here's the key here, guys. If I just did this, Control Z, let's see if those VLANs are actually showing up in our VLAN database. Looks like these might have been created already before. So let's actually delete some VLANs. Looks like it doesn't need the space there. Let's go back to our VLAN database. All right, they're gone. And now let's try creating these VLANs. So if I do this, VLAN 10 through 13, let's say I went into interface gig 0/0 from here. Is that VLAN created? All right, it is. So key thing here, guys, though, anytime you create this VLANs, say I want to create VLAN 14, you want to hit exit. You want to exit off it because these VLANs will not be created until you hit or type exit. Let's go back to our how-to and make sure we're following the steps. So just saying, notice the different syntax. Now, if you want to do a VLAN created one at a time, we can actually give it a name. So we do VLAN 14, name management. So good, we're seeing some troubleshooting here. So it looks like VLAN 22 is already made for management. Let's go back to our how-to, see the next step. So just doing some verification. You can also do spanning tree verification, but you won't actually see anything because a spanning tree instance is only created on a VLAN that's trunked to another switch. And we don't have that in this scenario. So now let's go assign a VLAN to a port. And we're going to do this with a VLAN we haven't created yet. So we can see another way to actually create VLANs. So what we're telling gig 0 here is that we want its mode to be access. So we know there's 3 different modes you can have on a switch port. You have access, trunk, and dynamic. We're telling it to be an access port. So that means it can only have one VLAN on there. And if some of you are savvy in networking, you know we can also have a voice VLAN. But if it's an access port, it means access only one VLAN. And then if we wanted to create the voice VLAN, we could. As you see, VLAN 50 was not created. So now it's creating VLAN 50. Good. So let's look at our interface configuration. So you can see I had some other stuff put on there, right? You see this trunking and this no negotiate. So what I want to do, so we can get a clean configuration, is actually default this interface. Now let's look at it. Nothing, a clean interface. Let's get back into it and do what I just did, made it an access port, designated it a VLAN, put a voice VLAN on there. And if you're wondering how an access port can have 2 VLANs, like the access and the voice, well, this voice VLAN is actually specifically for Cisco phones. So what happens is Cisco Discovery Protocol, right, CDP. When we put the access and voice VLAN on an access port, a Cisco phone's going to communicate to that switch via CDP with a flag that says, hey, I'm a phone. I want to be part of a voice VLAN. So now we're sending 2 different tagged frames on that access port to phone and computer, right? Because we all know a computer can be plugged into a phone, and then phone goes into the switch. So with that being said, that's how it does it. It's not necessarily a trunk. It's actually using Cisco Discovery Protocol to actually do voice and access or data VLAN traffic. All right, guys, let's go back here. So now I'm just going to show you a third way to make a VLAN. And here, this is kind of legacy, but we can actually go into the VLAN database. So this is actually a whole separate file, right? That's going to house VLANs. So usually a VLAN, or if you create VLANs from global config mode, they're going to be saved to the NVRAM, and that's how they're remembered. And actually, all standard VLANs do that as well. So this is just showing you another way that you can create the VLANs actually getting into the VLAN database. So we can create VLAN 44, and that's the name. So now if we exit, we do show VLAN, we can see 44 is created. So all these standard VLANs will be saved in that VLAN database. So we type in do show flash :VLAN .dat. Maybe we need a space right here. Actually, excuse me. It's always good when you don't prep for a video, right guys? We can actually do some real life troubleshooting. Okay, let's see. Pretty sure if we type in more flash, no space. All right, here we go. Here we can actually see a bunch of junk, but this actually is our VLAN database, right? If we do show flash, wow, it's a lot. But we see down here, in entry 270, we have our VLAN database. So this is where standard VLANs are stored. And then when we get into extended VLANs, they are stored in NVRAM. Alright guys, so we did do a lot here in this video, but the basic point about this video is all about network segmentation, right? Creating VLANs all different ways we can, naming them, and actually seeing them in the database, and actually verifying that they were created using show VLAN. So, from everyone here at Intrepid Technology, guys, I want to thank you for viewing this video, and remember to keep learning every single day. Thank you.